redefines.
This is Mitch, and welcome to 1000houses.com podcast.
Now that's map number one, and Stephen, or Mitch, I don't think we have enough time for me to teach the other three maps, but I'll tell you what they are. Map number one is a right brain map. It taps into your dream site, and it's extremely important. It's also into the emotional part. I want you to feel what it feels like to live this. Once you get there, feel it. Feel what it's like in all five senses. So you'll get a sense of what it's like when you achieve that. The second map is almost the exact opposite. It's like the left brain map. It's the attorney map, frankly, coming out. And it's the map that goes, you know what? There are a lot of things that could stop you, brother. Hey, sister, you got some challenges, and you know, if you're not really smart about this, you can't go off half-cocked. Most entrepreneurs do go off half-cocked, and then that's why 90% of them fail. And a few of them succeed because they figure it out. But most people do not think about the consequences at all. Most entrepreneurs don't have that as it's not a part of their thinking. Their gene is missing when it comes to consequences. But I'm going to ask you to write down what 5 major consequences could happen. And once you're prepared for the consequences of mistakes, of failure, of challenges, of sudden storms, was the COVID-19 a sudden storm? Middle of March, they shut the country down? Could you have anticipated that? No, that's why it's one of the challenges in map number 2. It's called the anticipation map. To anticipate, to look in the future just a little bit and be realistic with me for a minute. What could go wrong? Number 1 that could go wrong, you get so overwhelmed with all the little things. You're doing the little things on your to-do list and leaving the big things last, and therefore you're always pushing them off. That's called the whirlwind, and we're all in a whirlwind. I'm in a whirlwind. You're in a whirlwind. We got stuff we got to do every day. But we have to fit it all in. And you have to fit in this every day. If you don't fit this in every day, it pushes off in the future.
So let's talk about this. You talked about the picture superiority effect, and that when you see and draw something, it has a bigger effect on your brain than when you write or read something. Can you, because you're doing this very specifically, you're not telling us to read like the old psycho-cybernetics with Maltz and everything. Read your goals, read your goals, read your goals. You're pushing it further, saying, I want you to not just have the picture, but I want you to physically draw it. Tell us the science behind that.
Yeah, I want you to draw this.
Every day.
Let me tell you why. What percentage of people are left brain versus right brain oriented? I don't know the actual number. I just know that it's predominantly, most people are visual. And yet all of the training tools, all the organizational tools are all left brain. They are right.
That's why we fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly. They're all left brain. And therefore, 3/4 of us are told to use a tool that is like we speak Spanish and the tool is in German. And therefore, it's a tool that doesn't work for us. And then they tell us to use to use a to-do list. A to-do list is one of the worst tools you can use. It actually makes you fail because it rewards you when you cross things off your to-do list for doing this fun, fast, simple, easy things. And when you cross those things off, it's almost orgasmic, like, oh, I get to cross things off my to-do list. Some of the things on your to-do list will never be crossed off. Why? Because they're your life. And your family is most people never put their family on their to-do list, and therefore they never cross them. They don't even notice them. They're always looking at inconsequential crap. That's what a to-do list is. The worst time management tool there is. And what this is it forces you to visually imagine and feel what it feels like to have that. Then when it comes to the anticipation map, I'll show you what that one looks like. it highlights, the challenges, the being stuck in the whirlwind. Most people are stuck, and therefore they're doing little things, and they're never getting anything big thing done. The learning curves, the marshmallows, the cliffs, the sudden storms. We had a sudden storm here recently, and when you do the anticipation map, it just takes a couple of minutes. You're basically saying to yourself, I want to get here, and these 5 obstacles are going to try to stop me. And I'm not going to let them. I'm going to actually draw them out. And as soon as I notice one of them in real life, I'm going to go, that's the whirlwind. That's the learning curve. That's the sudden storm. In other words, by naming them in advance, you steal their power. Most people don't name their fears in advance, and therefore when they show up, they are not prepared to deal with them. And so in this anticipation map, it prepares them. The third map is called the ritual map. Everybody who's successful has a ritual, and they do their ritual every day. And the ritual is for preparing themselves to go into the world. As my mentor, Stephen Covey, would say, every day you need a daily private victory so that you can go into the world and have a daily public victory. Your ritual is your daily private victory. It's planning, it's preparing, it's meditating, it's praying, it's organizing, it's reading, it's working on the 3 fundamental areas of you, your body, your brain, and your spirit. And when you focus and work on all 3 of those in preparation mode every day before you go into the world, you are ready. You are more ready for whatever the world throws at you. It builds your will. This is a place to build your willpower. And willpower is the power. It's the power. And most people have run out. See, when you do your to-do list, you usually do the little things first. So it uses up all your willpower. And by the time you get to the end of the day, you have depleted your willpower. And therefore you go, I'll do that tomorrow. And then you write your to-do list the next day, exactly the same way you did it today, which is let's go do all the fun, fast, frivolous things. And therefore it destroys your willpower. It forces you to look for the little things to do. I do just the opposite. What's the hardest thing I can do today? Let me do that first. Let's get that out of the way. It might take all day long.
I saw a word in your writings. It was neuroplasticity. Can you talk to me about that?
Well, that's just the way your brain stays young. It is like exercising your mind, your brain. And that's neuroplasticity. That's the making your brain more usable, more flexible, more plastic, as they say. So I'm 72. I'm cranking along just like I was 32. I read. I have my ritual I do every day. I read a lot. Warren Buffett can read 5 hours a day. I can read at least an hour or 2,
So I find it interesting because a lot of the things that I had to discover myself by trial and error, or just by finally screwing up enough that it became apparent, you're like really dissecting here. Like one thing I found is when you figured out what you were afraid of and you actually started to address it, that dragon shrunk dramatically once you started. When you decided to get nose to nose with it, and that we're going to have a war, and that I'm not going to run from you anymore. I'm going to go, just like the bully at on the neighborhood. I mean, even the bully at school might whip your ass, but you just got to make it to where it's not worth it to do it again. so I found every time I named my fears and said, so I became a rule. Every time I'm afraid of something, I'm going right to that. I'm going to go right to that till I understand, why am I afraid of it? Why is it making me afraid? And then how do I stop that? And pretty soon those dragons would shrink immensely. But I'm finding.
I'm wondering if it's a dragon shrunk or if you grew. It's a combination of both, I think.
Probably he wasn't nearly as ugly and nasty as you built him up to be. And two, you're stronger than you thought you are. I like that. So, these concepts, sometimes it's hard to invent new concepts or new ways, but sometimes someone's voice has a better way of reaching you. And I find your voice, for me, to be magnificent. You reach me, you have a way of cutting through all my stuff and getting to me. And I think you've had that effect on a lot of people for a lot of years because of the way you put it, the way that you diagram it, the way that you explain yourself. So you guys, if you have a chance, tell them how to get more information from you, how to learn more about this book, how to get this book. Tell them what you want them to do.
Well, obviously the 4 Maps of Happy Successful People, available on Amazon. It's a Kindle book. You can order it physical or Kindle. It's very inexpensive, but it's my lifetime, really, summarized, the 4 major skills. If you want to be really successful, these are how do you organize your life? That's the task map. This is what your organization looks like. This is not a to-do list. It's actually a drawing. It shows you how to focus in on the 3 projects that you've got to do every day. Reaching me, you can reach me at robertallen.com. So just go there and enter your email address, and then I send out usually every week, for those people who respond there, a communication. Usually it's on email, something that I've written for you to study that week about mindset or money set. About recently I did my favorite side hustle, that kind of thing. So if you want to learn more, just go there and I'll communicate with you regularly, and we can become friends.
Okay, so again, I'm going to put all this in the show notes over at 1000houses.com/Robert Allen, but you can go to robertallen.com. Before we go, Robert, I'd like to ask you some kind of bullet point, quick question answer, a little bit about the man, Robert Allen. Do you mind? Can I ask you a few questions?
Sure.
Okay. What drives Robert Allen?
To create. I like to create.
Okay. What person or event has had the biggest had a big influence on you?
That's a hard one, because there's
probably
so
lots of them, right?
So many, yeah. Well, I told the story of my having trouble finding a job in a terrible job market, as many people are finding that right now. I use that as an excuse to become an entrepreneur, and it was from that worst recession that came my greatest fortune. I was, within 5 years, by the time we were out of the recession, I was a multimillionaire. So
great answer, because some of the worst things that happen to us are the best things that ever happened to us, and we it's not for a while till we figure out that it is. But no,
and we wouldn't choose them ourselves. We wouldn't say, "Oh, you're going to grow this much if you have this kind of pain," and you would go, "No, I don't think so. I'll just stay inside my comfort zone." So life is designed to force you outside your comfort zone 1,000 times, and you either shrink or you grow as a result of it. And you can see the results everywhere you look. Some people are shrinking, some people are growing.
There is no neutral, is there? There is no neutral. You're either being worth more or worth less. You're either growing or you're not, or you're shrinking. There's no neutral ever. I don't think.
Yeah.
People say, "Well, I just kind of want to hold where I'm at." So you're not holding where you're at. You're going backwards if you're not moving forward. So, all right.
Some of you are interested in writing a book. I'm just doing a program recently, and I coach people on how to write a best-selling book. So if you go to robertallen.com and just enter your name in there, I'll tell you more about that.
Well, that'll probably be me. I'll show up.
Want to write another one, Mitch?
I'm trying to do book number 4, so
There you go.
no.
I'm at 12, but I should be at 20 or 30 by now.
Well, sometimes it's not about quantity; it's about quality. So, I mean, you write 12 really good books. That's quite an endeavor. What made you want to start? I mean, when did you start writing? When did you find out that writing was your gig?
When I was 24, I took a class from Stephen Covey. He challenged us to write our goals. Why I wrote these 3 goals, I don't know. But I said, I want to go scuba diving, and I did. I want to go skydiving, and I did. And I want to write a book, and I did. The book happened after I graduated from university. This would have been, 4 or 5 years later after the class that Stephen Covey wrote. But that thought had always been planted in my head. I wanted to write a book. So I had this epiphany one day driving down the freeway. It's time to write your book now, and it was like now, like not now, but like now, And so I was a real estate agent at the time and dealing with people who were buying investment properties, and I would buy them too. And I walked into my boss's office and I said to him, I'm sorry, I have to write my book now. So I'm going to give you back my real estate license. I will never sell another piece of real estate as a commissioned agent ever again. I like to make these statements, and I gave him my license back, and I began to write nothing down. We went to Hawaii for our anniversary that year. That's how I sold my wife on it. Let's go write my book in Hawaii. And I wrote the main outline of nothing down, and I came back and found somebody who had a #1 New York Times bestseller. And I said to her, Diane, show me what to do. And she said, we're going to go to the booksellers convention. And as they say, the rest is history. It was just me deciding it was time to write the book, and it came out in 1980. So it was just as we were just coming out of the recession, and just as things were starting to open up, and Reagan had just won, and it was and the book was at a time when the baby boomers wanted to buy real estate, and a lot of them didn't have any money. So my book was just if I'd waited a year or 2, it would have been too late. It was like the perfect time, the perfect storm. And wow. So still today I get royalties from that book I wrote 40 years ago. I still get royalties every 6 months from a book I wrote 40 years ago.
And you've written the editions, nothing down for the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. So you always kind of brought it back and revamped it.
Yeah.
But I have some personal interest in these answers to these questions. Was writing a book excruciating for you, or just difficult, or fun, or what level? How difficult was writing a book for you?
I don't have a problem with it. I write.
Okay.
I like to organize. That's one of my skills. I like to organize. And what are the steps to take them to the result? How do I make them simpler? That's another one of my skills, to make things simpler.
Absolutely. That's what I need, because I'm a slow study. I need it simple.
And I just have to have the drive to continue to write the words down, right?
How long were you in Hawaii to write your outline?
We were there for 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, I came home with the outline, found my mentor within another couple of weeks. Had 1 chapter written, had not written the entire book, but had 1 chapter written with an outline, sexy titles, silkscreen covered. We went to the booksellers convention, and I handed it out to the top publishers, and Simon & Schuster wanted it.
Wow, a dream. All right, my friend, anything you want to say to those entrepreneurs out there before we part?
I just love your story, Mitch. You really did it. You did a whole heck of a lot more than I did. I'll tell you that. I might have been an inspiration to you, but boy, you just went and did it like crazy. Incredible.
One of the things you said about confidence, I mean, You have to, the reason why I like to keep small goals, and I never was a big goal maker either, I always just, I needed something within my reach, because once I reached it, I would get confidence, and the confidence was all I needed. Like trying to find private money to fund your deals. Everybody's scared to death of that topic. You get one guy, it's Katie bar the door, but you got to get the one, you know. Once you get the one, you got the fever. Once you do the one house, you got the fever. Once you do a nothing down deal one time, you know, it's like, damn, I get it now. You know, I did my nothing down deal on accident, but I was based on your principles. I kept pushing back scenarios that I could do because I didn't have any other choices. So I would always push back my offer. You had resonated in me, like, don't let the deal die on your side of the table, and push back something you can do, no matter how ridiculous it is, because someone's going to say yes sometime before it's over with. And I push back this ridiculous, I can't make a down payment. I can't make a payment for 2 years. I can't do anything. And the guy said yes. and you know, that was my first house of, you know, a house every 4 to 5 days. Very shortly after that, my first year I did 45 houses. My second year I did 65 houses. My third year I did 150 houses, which is too much. And anyways, it was life altering. Say that one more time.
Your first year you did how many?
I quit in March of 1996, and I did 45 houses. And then the next year, 97, I did 65 houses. And then the next year I did 150. And then that was too many, so I bumped back down to, like, Ron LeGrand told me, you know, he embarrassed me in front of a whole program. He says, you know, I said, I did 150 houses this year. You know, I was right at the end of the year when I was at his convention. He goes, hey, ladies and gentlemen, this guy's a dumbass. You know, here I am standing up in front of 300.
Because
he said, like, you know, why don't you do a little bit less, make more, and have a life? And he was right. He was dead on right. And he gave me, shortly after that statement, when I was turning red in front of everybody, he said, you know, a lot of y'all would like to be as dumb as this guy. But he says, and then, you know, we kind of joked, but he said, you know, I'm just trying to suggest to you that maybe you do less, do better quality, and have a real life and get under control. Because 150, you know, closings, that's a closing acquiring and then a closing selling almost every day. And that's almost impossible. You know, it's a lot of stress, you know, so he was right.
Congratulations, Mitch. You know, honestly, I had never heard of you before, Mitch.
Oh, well, hey, I'm the best kept secret in the whole wide world, believe me.
What's shocking to me is that just in this last year, I've had bunches of people pop up who I've never heard of before, who give me as part of the credit of their success. And I am stunned by how a few ideas can change people's lives so much. And it's very humbling.
Well, I hope you never get tired of it, because basically I could get emotional about it. I'm fighting it right now. I could get emotional because I was in a very bad place. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a college degree. No one wanted to pay me. I was lost, and my family wasn't talking about it. My school didn't teach me anything about it. No one was telling me anything that you told me. And between you and Maltz, like controlling my thoughts, and then you telling me that I could do something with nothing, and then Think and Grow Rich telling me that some of the richest people in the world never had 1 ounce of schooling, and they were placed in corners to where they had to go invent their own business because no one would hire them in a million years. And then every time they figured out how to increase that business, they were the 100% recipient of it. That's what happened to me. Actually, I made a conscious decision to take having a job off the table, because I was told by a POW one day that how he made it through was, if you had enough water and enough protein, and if you could keep a hold of this, that your body would figure everything out and it would survive everything. And I believe that guy. He was a prisoner in war of the Bay of Pigs. He was in Castro's prison for 24 months as a traitor to his country, where they did awful things to him every day, starting in the morning. And I thought, here I am in San Antonio, Texas. I knew what I needed to do. I needed to invent my own thing, because if I wasn't going to be entrepreneurial, no one was ever going to pay me. I'd already been 10 years doing this stuff, and I couldn't make more than $15 an hour. I didn't have the credentials, but I was making them lots of money. I was responsible. I was honest, and they weren't paying me what I needed to be paid. And so I took having a job off the table. I thought, what's the chances that I'm not going to get enough clean water in in San Antonio, Texas. Well, that's a 0. What's the chances I'm not going to get enough protein or I'm not going to eat? I mean, in the greatest country in the world, in a booming city with a supportive family, I mean, what's the chances that I'm not going to get enough to eat? So I had to, what my mind was, I didn't have to control my mind from going insane like this POW did. I just had to control my mind to not take a job so I could back this body back in a corner so hard that it would have to come out and do something. And it invented how to make money. And, my first goal was tiny, like you said. I just want to know how to make $15 an hour so I don't have to answer to anybody else. And I learned, I didn't do it overnight. But then I did. But then when I learned how to make $30 an hour, I was 100% recipient. When I learned how to make $50 an hour, I mean, one time, I got up to making like $800 an hour. And you think that's fun, but it has its downsides too. You have to constantly be learning from people. Yeah. My wife would say to me, hey, Mitch, can you pick up the dry cleaners? I'm like, honey, I'm worth $800 an hour. Can someone pick up the dry cleaners? I learned that mindset from someone else too. I didn't invent that. They said, you can't work below your wages. I learned a lot of this stuff through these people. But, was that a fun night at my house? No, it wasn't. So
Mitch,
thank you so much.
Let's do another webinar one of these days where I can take them deep and show them some more stuff. Happy to do that with you.
Well, look, we did principle 1. Let's have one on principle 2 and principle 3 if you want to. We'll schedule it. I'll have Julie call you right when we're done, and you say when. And if that's what you want to do, we'll do. If you want to do something different, we'll do something different. But I'm completely enthralled in the way that you're putting it, because I think you're right on. I think you're dead on, and I'm a fan of yours, but I think you're topping yourself right here.
Wow, top myself again, but think of that. All right, Mitch, you have a wonderful day. Love you all. See y'all, everybody. God bless.
All right, this is Mitch Stephen with 1000houses.com podcast. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for stopping by to get you some Robert G. Allen, and maybe we'll see him again here soon. All right, this is Mitch Stephen. We're out of here.